So hi all, welcome to a tutorial series of a blockchain. Before we get started and learn new concepts, let me summarize what we have learned so far. So we discussed some very basic blockchain concepts. We discussed that block contains data, block has an address and hash of the previous block. In this tutorial, we will try to answer the question why there is a need of chain or block, why there is a need to connect this block together through a previous block address. You can see that in this particular figure, block 1 and block 2 are connected through an address. The similar way, block 3 is connected to a block 2 through a previous block address. What are the advantages or benefits of keeping the block of chain? Why this mechanism is useful and what are the advantages it brings? So to answer this question, let me visit the blockchain. Then available on this particular URL. So let me open up this particular URL where you can see that my current block contains just only a one block, which is a Genesis block. Now I am adding let me try to add one new block. Let's say I say hello blockchain. I am adding a new block. Now this again is become a new blockchain where block 1 has a previous hash block contains the address of Genesis block. The same way, let's say I say hello, I am adding a second block number 2, and you can see that now we have a Genesis block 1 and block 2 which are connected, interlinked together. Now let me do one thing. Let me try to change the data in a block 1. Let's say I'm making a change of 1 2 3, and you can see that the block and all the following block become invalid. This is because hash address is generated using the data, and since the block 1's hash address is changed, and since the block 2 is holding the address of a block 1 address, block 2 is also become invalid. This is the very important property. So through this particular demo, what I am trying to convey that if suppose there is some tampering happens in some block, its hash addresses become invalid, and the following block's hash address or whole blockchain is also becoming invalid. So the overall because of this hash chaining mechanism, if the tampering happens, the whole blockchain becomes invalid. So let me try to connect this characteristic of a blockchain with a real world example. This will give you more clarity. Now I'm going back to the presentation. So let's say you want to buy a house. You go and pay for the home. In exchange, you actually get a home. But how do you prove that you are the owner of a home, right? How do you prove to someone else that this is your home? Well, you go to the government council, you carry your home deed which you received when you bought a home, and ask the government council to register your home. And the government council has a ledger. So ledger is nothing but it's just a record. It could be a digital or non-digital. Or digital means it could be an Excel file, or it could be any simple modern database system which stored data, or non-digital means a book in which, let's say, a government person can record your deed and register your home. And this, as I said, the government ledger could be a physical book or digital file such as Excel in which the government authority registers the ownership of your data. This is all you have to claim the ownership of the home, right? So you have the title deed and you have the little tiny entry in the ledger somewhere in the government building that belongs to the government, where it says that you own this house, right? Now imagine a scenario where what if the building burns down, fire happens, or some suppose natural natural events happen, for maybe because of flood or any other natural disaster or anything. Or what if somebody steals the book, and what if somebody wants to come along and change that entry, right? So well, it means that all of the sudden you do not have the ownership of the house anymore. Physically you might still are living in the house, but you may be thinking that that it is your house, but on ledger that house may not be owned by you, right? But in reality, just because the one line of that information in that ledger has been lost from a bank somewhere in the government authority, all of the sudden you do not actually have the houses, right? So this brings to the importance of a blockchain. So here is the solution of this problem, and the solution could be adopting a blockchain technology. So every time somebody buys a home, a new blocks of deed has been added to the blockchain. And so every time you can see that there is already been some transaction in the blockchain continuously. So you can see that in the first block or first Genesis block, the deed of, let's say, person 1 has been added. The same way deed of a second person has been added, and then your deed is added, and then as time passes, the citizens of a city, all the records are stored in the blockchain. Now actual beauty comes of the blockchain. So let's say somebody tried to alter the entry in the blockchain, and the later entry could be invalid, and because the blocks are interlinked, then if suppose somebody is trying to change in your blockchain stored data or in your deed record, the later entry could become invalid, right? So you can see that all the letters, so the address, all entry, the following will become invalid. This concept is called immutable ledger. In the following tutorial, we will talk about the other property of a blockchain, such as distributed ledger or peer-to-peer, which makes impossible for the hacker to hack the blockchain system, right? So let's try to see the concept in action through a demo. So as we see, I'm changed. So let's say, as we shown earlier, let's say a blockchain has a 3 block, and if suppose I'm changing the address, all the blocks entry will become invalid, right? So this blockchain is become no more valid, and this is the power of the immutable ledger property of a blockchain. Since because the block has is a chain of block, and it has the address of the previous hash, and if the previous hash, if the address of the block is changed, then later blocks is also, the entries also change, right? So this concludes the end of this tutorial. I hope that you enjoy this tutorial. In the upcoming tutorial, we will advance the understanding of the blockchain concepts. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.